Welcome or welcome back to the second part of Astrology 101, Astrology 102, where we dive into the planets and the asteroids. First things first, get yourself comfortable with the drinks, snacks, background music, anything of choice, and let's dive right into a little intro. So every planet has its own character, and this character expresses itself in a different way when it enters a different sign. So the positive traits we talked about in part 1 are the ones that come up when the planet is aspected in a favorable way by trine or sextile, and when aspected less favorable by opposition or a square, the negative traits of the sign come up. And this will influence the birth chart, so the person itself, or the day-to-day life via the transiting chart. The house in which a planet resides in is where a planet acts its strongest, and sometimes we do have an empty house, and that's when we look at the ruling planet of a sign. Something we'll talk about right now. But the first 5 planets are personal planets, so personal to you. You and I may be Leos, but you and I do not have the moon in, let's say. You and I may not have the Mercury in, let's say. How come? Because these planets move quite quick and on their own pace. And in that orbit they make, I think it takes 3,600 years. I'm talking rubbish right now, but the synchronicity takes a real long time. So astrologically, we're probably not the same. And then we have the generational planets. You and I may share a Pluto. May even be on the same degree. But that's something I'll talk about quite later. You know what, let's just dive right into it. Because the first planet isn't even a planet, it's a luminary, and it's the sun. Transiting from sign every 30 days, so moving 1 degree a day, and has the dominant phrase, I am. And like the Leo, loves just being seen, creating, expressing itself. And the sun is your vitality, your ego, your self-expression in the world. Marriage. So the ruler of Leo is the sun. But with the dominant phrase, I am, it is shared with Aries at the beginning of springtime, which also has the dominant phrase, I am. And the sun loves being there. It's the exalted placement of the sun. And exalted meaning where the planet, acts favorable. This is home. This is just home, like fixed fire. I don't need to start the whole time. And this starting action, initiating at the beginning of springtime, starting the year, the sun loves it there, loves being there, moving there. But after 30 days, it's like, whew, can't wait to next year. Leave enough to enjoy. 180 degrees in opposition of the domicile home sign of Leo is Aquarius. So the sun, your being and expression, feels and behaves homesick in its detriment in Aquarius. This is the sign where the planet is in its detriment. So that whole aura of being homesick, longing for, of course, those 30 days. And in which house it falls for you is where it expresses itself, is strongest again. So one may be like, I wish I was here, or one may be like, I wish I had this relationship. Let's not go too far. So the sun as the sign in which the sun is in its fall, the sign in which is in its fall is Libra. 180 degrees in opposition of the masculine fire of Aries is the masculine air of Libra, but too indecisive. Like one to include every. Fire is initiating, going. Air is talking, communicating. The sun will not adjust. The sun will not dim its light. And Libra can sometimes be a little bit too hypocritical to come across as diplomatic. It's too easygoing. Sun don't like it in its fall. So, if the sun is that masculine drive, and we do live in a world of duality, of course, we have also a luminary with a feminine drive, which is the moon. The moon transits sign every 2 to 3 days. So enters a masculine sign, feminine sign, goes for that outward energy, goes for that inward energy, every 2.5 days. And ruling your mood, into your intuition, like your gut feeling will tell you, and your emotions. And so it's all about inward. It's all about, yeah, kind of like nurturing. It's the mother archetype of the planet and home domicile in the mother archetype of the zodiac belt, Cancer. And both share the dominant phrase, I feel. Wonderful. But sometimes out of a feeling, that love, that I invested so much emotion into this, Cancer is unable to let go. Taurus, also feminine, fixed earth, is like, invested too much, not another cent. This is the line, cross it. Cross it. Moon loves it over there, exalted in Taurus. Like that steady, practical, like, okay, it hurts, but it will hurt for a less long, it will hurt not as long as when I just keep attached to it. Detach sometimes. Taurus knows when to detach. If it hurts, if it don't. Moon in Taurus, 180 degrees in opposition of the mother archetype of the zodiac belt, we have the father archetype, Capricorn. So when the moon is in Capricorn, it's just too strict, too rigid, too disciplined. And the moon is free-spirited, doesn't like that. So yeah, those 2.5 days, you must go through it. You can't be this without that. Remember duality. But what the moon really hates, the sign in which the moon is in its fall, is of course 180 degrees in opposition of Taurus in Scorpio. But it's water, fixed water. So that unable to let go out of love, unable to let go out of vengeance. The moon is like, just let it go. Just let it go, man. It's enough. And Scorpio is like, it's never enough. Scorpio is a little too intense for most of the planets, but we'll make it up at the end. So the first planet actually is Mercury. Mercury has the dominant phrase, I think, and is domicile home in the masculine air sign of Gemini, which also has the dominant phrase, I think. Moving from sign to sign every 3 to 4 weeks, depending on retrogrades. Just like the Gemini, gathering a little here, gathering a little there. If it's needed, I take it. If I don't, I don't. And I'll manage. Gemini will manage. Mercury loves it there. But sometimes the Gemini is too much in the head, I think, thinking too much about logic and instinct. So where Gemini is the masculine part of the thought, of the brain, the feminine thought, of course, is in the guts. So Mercury is also domicile in Virgo. And Mercury loves it so much there. And Virgo also in medical astrology ruling the gut. Mercury also ruling the gut and the lungs and the hands. But check the cheat sheet. Mercury loves it there. Mercury is exalted in Virgo because sometimes you need to follow not the instincts, but the intuition. The intuition. So exalted, loves being there. That mutable air, here, there, everywhere. Mutable earth. Is it working here? Is it working there? This is where I need to be. This is the gold mine. Call the troops. Virgo is so altruistic. Virgo will call the troops. Love you. Thank you. 180 degrees in opposition of Gemini, we have the Sagittarius. So that mutable air of Gemini, here, there, everywhere. Mutable fire of Sagittarius. I'm very dedicated here. Aren't you burnt out? I am the fire, love. I'm very dedicated. Mercury is like, Okay, 21 days are up. Bye after Capricorn. Because Sagittarius, where Gemini is the basic education, the basic communication, just the surface, Sagittarius going deep. Sagittarius went to college, got the diploma, is able to teach, is able to preach, and Mercury's like, I ain't got time for this. So, just, yeah, the character of the planet. 180 degrees in opposition of Virgo, we have Pisces, the mutable water, emotional, too emotionally invested with your thoughts in them, him, her, you. We don't have time because Lord knows they aren't thinking about you, Pisces. So when Mercury is in Pisces, just know you need to vouch for yourself first, because if you're not good, how can you pour from an empty cup? Logic. And so, yeah, Mercury's more of a mutable, like here, there, everywhere, yeah. Next, we arrive at the kind of feminine planet, because it harnesses the feminine energy, what you love, your art, beauty. Check the cheat sheet. And it's domicile in Taurus, main home. And Venus moves from sign every 4 to 5 weeks. So Taurus is a feminine sign. I know, watch part one. Feminine fixed earth. Knows this is what I have, these are my materials, and of course you need your materials, of course you need your crude, your raw materials to say this is my worth. Like, do you have a tent made of bamboo that's falling apart, or do you have a tent that's made of bamboo that's like well maintained? Be stingy with your material and stuff. But yeah, sometimes you need people to tell you, like, this bamboo tent will fall apart at the first rainy season. And those people are the ones you gain in the summer house of winter house, I don't know, vacation place, because also domicile in the masculine air sign of Libra. Masculine air, so masculine initiating outward, air communication. So it's all about the relationships you have. Venus also rules your social relationships, your business relationships, which also gather your money, your worth, yours. So this is your self-worth from the inside, of course, feminine energy, and your self-worth from the outside, that's masculine energy. So yeah, you'd say, okay, so Venus is also exalted in Libra. No. Just knows, like, okay, these are the people I need to hang out with. These are the people I don't need to hang out with. And Venus, it makes you attractive. It makes you lovely. And in the charming, or was it charismatic? Leo's charming and Libra's charismatic. Like, so that charm is something you need. And Venus loves it over there. Just home. Because Venus is exalted in Pisces. Yeah. When Mercury hates it in Pisces, like, you think too much about everyone. Venus is like, think about everyone. Give some, get some. Get some, give some. There's enough for everyone to go around. And Pisces is very compassionate, very empathic. Like, oh, you need some? Let me give you the clothes off my back. And I'll go home and get some new ones. Love it. Think about others. Know what you have. Know what you don't have. And like, if you were not gonna wear it today, you're probably gonna trash it to the thrift store anyway. And if you're comfortable walking around naked, just go for it. Who's stopping you? Right? So then now we're getting at the domicile exalted in detriment. 180 degrees in opposition of Scorpio, of Taurus, we have the Scorpio. Too much. It's too dedicated. That fixed water is emotionally too dedicated, too investigated in someone else, something outside of you, because Taurus is your personal possessions, your self-worth. It's for you. Again, if your cup is empty, how are you going to fill someone else's? And Scorpio's too much like, I'll make sure your cup is full. I'll go through fire. I'll go through wind. I'll go through earthang. Venus is like, oh, do you love yourself enough though? You first. I mean, like, if you're gone tomorrow, is that person still like, oh my God, that person invested so much in me? Or Scorpio, Venus and Scorpio. Let me stop. 180 degrees in opposition of the sociable Libra. We have the self-centered, selfish, egoistic, whatever. Aries. It's too much about I, it's too much about me. Yeah, but this is my love language. This is how I receive. This is how I... Love is a two-way street, Aries. Love is a two-way street, Venus and Aries. Okay. Well, what can I say? So, yeah, of course. Venus, the sign in which Venus is in its fall, 180 degrees in opposition of Pisces. Virgo, very altruistic, very humanitarian, would give an arm and a leg and still be willing and able to steal an arm and a leg to give that to. For Virgo, stop self-sacrificing, because that's not how love works. But yeah, it's acts of service. If you have a Virgo in your life, or if you have Venus in Virgo or anything of that, acts of service, because the Virgo is of service. It's the house of service. It's the sign of service. It's everything of giving to others. So Venus is like, oh my God, you needed that leg. You needed that leg, Virgo. So. And Pisces is like, I needed that leg though. Like, you can have the shirt off my back because I have a new one. But I know I needed that leg. Like, crazy. Venus and Virgo. Yeah, that's something to work with. But we have a lot of other things to work with. So let's arrive at the next planet, Mars. Mars is more of the initiating. Literally has the dominant phrase, I act. So how you act, how you go out and initiate. Home, of course, in the initiating cardinal fire of Aries, and transit sign every 6 to 8 weeks, depending on retrograde. No retrograde, 6 weeks. Yes, retrograde, probably 8 weeks or longer even. So that, yeah, I don't even know how to explain, because how can I explain? Cardinal fire starts action very passionately, and ball of fire, match made in heaven. So, let me see, 108, no? What were we doing? Oh, first exalted in a square, in a cardinal square, because like I said, Mars is an initiating planet, likes to act. So home, domicile in the cardinal fire, I like to act, and exalted in the cardinal earth, because that cardinal earth, that feminine, on the inside I have a plan. I know where I'm going, where I will go, and yeah, Mars is just like, give me the plan, give me the papers, and I'm all there for you. I'll follow. Mars in Capricorn. If Mars is in Capricorn, like, just know everything will be okay as long as you have focus. Like, you can focus on the wrong thing and get there, but if it will not give you any fruits or something, focus on something that will give you fruits. When Mars is in Capricorn, 180 degrees in opposition of the cardinal fire of Aries, we have the cardinal air of Libra. So the sun already didn't like it over there. It's detriment, like homes. This is where Mars is homesick, but the sun is in its fall in Libra. The sun already didn't like it there. It's like too indecisive, too hypocritical. Like you don't even know. Like, oh, let me call Deborah, let me call Shelly. Oh, but Mars just wants to act. Mars just wants to go. Mars doesn't care what Shelly thinks. Yeah. So all that be here, be there, being a little bit hypocritical, going with the wind, adjusting for Barbara, Deborah. What did I say? What a no go for Mars. Do you know what Mars really hates? Of course, the last cardinal sign, the cardinal water of Cancer, like initiating emotional, like no. Like I'd rather be practical, stable for long-term plans instead of being practical and stable for all this wishy-washy whining you're doing. Mars is not down for that. So when Mars is in Cancer, it's kind of like crawling forward through the waters, that ball of fire, like no chill. So yeah, for Cancer, it may be uncomfortable. People with Mars in Cancer may be quite uncomfortable initiating, but it all depends on aspects, and that's something we'll talk about a little later. So, yeah, I think I'm sidetracking, but did you know we had old ruling planets? Because we have Vedic astrology and Western astrology, right? But in Vedic astrology, they didn't really include the outer planets. Well, they did include them, but they called them Rahu and Ketu or something, so that's a little bit different. But in the traditional Western astrology, I think they burned the libraries or something because they didn't even know about Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So before those planets were discovered, you see, there's something missing here. Mars was the ruler of Scorpio. So Mars, I don't really know what the placement is because I think there are six placements, but I'm just talking about the four, like the domicile, exalted, fallen, and detriment and fallen. But I think there are 6 placements, and Mars still has something to do with Scorpio. But that's something I'll look up a little later and put in the description, probably. Because, so, yeah, let's just arrive at the next planet. So now we're going to the outer planets, and this is more for your outer development. If these planets are in retrograde motion, it's something you have to work with on the outside. Like if you have, the moon is in retrograde. If you have Mercury in retrograde, you have to, well, it's not like you have to, but it's an obstacle or a learning point for you to talk, to talk clearly, is Mercury retrograde right now? No, it's a shadow Mercury retrograde period right now, but to communicate your thoughts properly. Nice example. But yeah, when Mercury moves retrograde, it's a life lesson, something you can work with to communicate your thoughts properly. Let's say you have Jupiter in retrograde, which makes it feel hard for you to feel joyful. It's something on the outside. Like, why is it hard for you to feel joyful? Is it because you get out of bed? Is it because you have to go outside? Is it your surroundings? Is it you? And yeah, that's personal planets, personal development, outer planets, outer development, because you in that surrounding. Are you too short-sighted? You know what? Let's talk about Jupiter. Yeah. Jupiter used to be, before the other planets were discovered, the ruler of Pisces. And takes 12 to 13 months to transit from sign to sign. So those 12 to 13 months, so that means like you're 12, 13, 14 years old when you have your first Jupiter return. Isn't that puberty? That part when you think, I know everything. With the dominant phrase, I grow. I grew here, there, this, so, overall. And that's how you kind of work with Jupiter in your chart and outer planets to learn from your expansion. See where Jupiter was for you 6 years ago, like 6 years ago, probably here. Duh. And what did 6 years ago mean for you? If 3 years ago was amazing for you, go 3 signs back. Oh my God, what did Jupiter bring for you here? What did Jupiter bring for you there? And that's how you work with Jupiter. As a Leo, I want everyone to shine, so like get your Jupiter on. But listen to the asteroids part 2. So Jupiter transits sign every 12 to 13 months and is home in the mutable fire sign of Sagittarius. So that expansion, again, like likes to expand knowledge, likes to be able to teach and to preach people. And Jupiter is, it's like, go for it, go for it. But let's say you have Sagittarius or Jupiter in your second house of self-worth. It's a lot of expansion of self-worth, and maybe also your eating. Fourth house also has to do with eating, like Taurus and Cancer, they love baking. But let's say you have those that obesity, overeating, diabetes, watch those things. But that's something to talk about later again. So that giving everyone loves being in Cancer, that motherly archetype, that nurturing archetype, like there's enough for you and you and you and you. Jupiter feels like Oprah in Cancer. Jupiter looks like Oprah when it's in Gemini, 180 degrees in opposition of Sagittarius. Gemini's too superficial, like, okay, gaining here, gaining there, giving here, giving there, but for what? What was the reason? Like, Cardi are really yelling to Jupiter and Gemini. What was the reason? 180 degrees in opposition of Cancer, we have the fatherly strict archetype of Capricorn, which is like, no, I don't think you deserve that yet. And when we look at the old sign it ruled, Pisces, 180 degrees in opposition of that, we have the mutable earth sign of Virgo. Like, Virgo is kind of like Capricorn's little sister, where Capricorn is like, I don't think you deserve that. Virgo's like, I think just one more chore. I just want to see you do better. So yeah, that we don't want, Jupiter doesn't want, Jupiter doesn't necessarily want to see you do better. Jupiter just wants to see you grow. So you need to have you need to be stable on that yourself. You need to hold the horses yourself. Just saying. Little Jupiter wisdom. And fun fact, because I'm really thinking right now. If you see, I'm really thinking right now. Because, like, am I going to talk about 150 degrees? That's a sesquiquadrate or something. But 150 degrees aspect, that's like in opposition, but one back. Yeah, in an opposition of the sign, but one sign back. So an opposition of the sign and one sign back. And that's kind of like what Jupiter is doing the whole time, and it brings offbeat wisdom. And normally it's about health or just wisdom. 150 degrees. Remember that Jupiter does that sometimes about the health. So stay away from sugar and yeast and processed meat. None of my business. Let's continue. Next we have Saturn. And Saturn is domiciled home in, of course, the strict father archetype of the zodiac belt, Capricorn, because Saturn rules the discipline. Literally, in Dutch, I changed the dominant phrases, but they have the same dominant phrase. I achieve or I rule. I think it's I achieve. You achieve something. It's all about your achievements in the 10th house. So yeah, the discipline and your discipline to achieve those things, your limitations you maybe need to overcome, the restrictions you've maybe put on yourself. Saturn in Pisces moving retrograde. It's most limitations and restrictions are put on yourself just because you're like, I'm not really worth it, or let me put someone else in the spotlight. Like, the sun isn't shining on you for nothing. Let me leave that for the weekly journal, weekly transit journal. Either way, home in Sagittarius, and before the other 3 planets were discovered, we can make this circle full round when Sagittarius was also the ruler of Aquarius. But so where Capricorn is the old money, the traditions, the family, not necessarily family, but all in the family. Aquarius is about community, humanitarian. Let's go out. It's more future based, like tradition. I don't know her. So as eventually they said, when the new planets were discovered, they said, that's something I'm not going to get into right now. But let me see. Saturn moves from sign to sign every 2 to 3 years. And is home in Capricorn. And where quite some signs don't like it in Libra, Saturn loves it. All this calculated. Let me talk to this one first. Let me talk to that one first. That Saturn is exalted in Libra. Like, you have to be clean and calculated and polished. Or Libra. Like, in my mind, Libra is feminine and Taurus is masculine, of course, but and it works. In astrology, it works. Just follow it. It doesn't hurt anybody. Because, yeah, traditional Vedic astrology. Like, the main difference in Vedic and Western astrology is the date. I'm not sure. The signs go from 15 to 15. So the 15th of January to the 15th of February is Aquarius season. But in Western astrology, from the 20th, 21st, 22nd, or even 23rd, it's the start of Aquarius season until the 20th, 21st, 22nd, or 23rd. How come? Let me tell you. So like I said at the beginning, the sun moves 1 degree every day. So makes this circle of 360 degrees in a year. So a year has actually 360 days. A day doesn't last exactly 24 hours. I thought we knew, but it doesn't matter. So I may be born in 2000 on this date, and you may be born in 2001 on the same date, but we probably have 5 degrees or something apart. Because the Gregorian calendar, man, the Gregorian calendar, for real. But yeah, that's what happened. And if you follow the astrological calendar, like the Vedic calendar, the Vedic astrology is way more clear. Just start in March. Just try it. You ain't hurting nobody. If you're hurting somebody, stop. Please stop. But if you're not hurting anybody, just go. So, next planet, Uranus. Yeah, because Aquarius. Too futuristic, too rebellious, too inventive, and eccentric. Like, I don't understand. You don't have to understand, you just need to follow. So with the dominant phrase, I know, of course, they keep evolving. Like, yeah. Uranus is domicile, the ruler of Aquarius. They keep evolving. Fixed air. So I have this thought. Okay, I fixed that thought. But now I have this thought. Let me fix that thought. Fixed air. It keeps thinking, keeps inventing, keeps going out. Remember Paris Hilton when she said like, she what? Yeah. And now everyone, well, not now, because now we have a front camera. What? And that all because Paris Hilton thought like, I want to see the lenses myself. She invented the selfie. If you don't get it, whatever. I don't know which documentary I was watching that time, but yeah. Because these planets were discovered later in life, someone's life, these planets don't have an exalted and fallen placement. People still need to discover, even though Uranus has already been like in 3-4 cycles around the zodiac belt since it was discovered in 1781 or something. But yeah, it takes 7 years to transit from sign to sign. And yeah, it's in its detriment in Leo, 180 degrees in opposition of Aquarius. So the Aquarius is very eccentric, very like, look at me, and well, not look at me. It's like, this is inventive. You should try it. You should try it. You should try it. And the Leo's like, get out of my face. Jesus. Yeah, the Leo, don't tell the sun to dim its light, brighten its light, change its settings, don't. So Uranus and Leo is probably 7 years of like, yeah. When the Leo wants to change, the Leo will change. Fixed fire, hey? Don't change it. This is working for me. Next, it's a planet of expression. It's in the axis of expression. Next, we have Neptune transiting from sign every 10 to 12 years. Neptune transits every 10 to 12 years and is domiciled in Pisces. And it's more about the habits. So Pisces is about your spiritual habits, your spiritual endeavors, your spiritual quest, learning, growth. I mean, it's even about prison, jail, rehab time and stuff. And 180 degrees in opposition of Pisces, we have the Virgo, which is about your health routine, your work routine, and your day-to-day life, like your regimen, your routine. So this is more, Neptune is more of the habits axis with the dominant phrase, I dream. What you dream of? Well, when I was younger, see? Yeah, what you dream of? And Pluto, last but not least, where a lot of planets are scared of Scorpio. Pluto's like, I love it here. I love it here. So Mars doesn't really have this feminine counterparts or something, but now. But before Mars had the feminine counterpart of Scorpio, because that masculine of initiating, of going out on the inside, you also want to be calculated and correct to see yourself thrive. And when Pluto was discovered, Mars was discarded. They were like, this deep, transformational. Life transformation, like that life and death, but if I die I can come back, that rebirth of Shmoane. Like everyone's like, I'm in my this era, I'm in my that era, like what those life transformations. Fixed water of Scorpio and Pluto, they were like, this is a match made in the heavens, literally. Oh, you'd say like 180 degrees in opposition of Scorpio to Taurus, and this is where Pluto doesn't like to be. Of course not. Everyone loves Taurus. Like Taurus maybe doesn't love you, but it's the truth. It's the truth. It's the truth. So everyone loves Taurus. If Taurus doesn't like you, you probably did something wrong. But Pluto doesn't like to be in Cancer, of course. Pluto is kind of like like Mars. So where Mars is like, all these water, oh my God, cardinal water, stop it. Pluto's like, oh my God, get it away, get it. Still laughing through it, of course. with tears of rage. Yeah, it's all about the emotions with Pluto. Like if you're emotionally well, if you're emotionally able to let go, you can revive yourself, of course. So those are the planets. And so we arrived in the middle for the asteroids, geodes, and the poles, because that's what these actually are. And I'm not going to talk about all the asteroids because we're just diving into the basics. And remember, I'm just a guide to guide you towards my moon girl readings on Instagram, Pam Gregory on YouTube, my come journal with me. Well, I'm just guiding you towards what you want. So let's dive into the first asteroid, Chiron. And the only asteroid I'm going to talk about right now. Well, Chiron is the wounded healer, a point of deep healing in the near or far past due to deep-seated insecurities. So Chiron is, yeah, that childhood trauma, that deep-seated insecurities, and is a point of healing. Like the birth chart shows a lot of places to heal and to grow and to overcome obstacles for yourself. So see where Chiron is and in which house, in which sign, to see this is the place I feel uncomfortable and could help, but I feel uncomfortable. And these are the traits, these are the subjects to see sign, house, Chiron. And that's it. And you have like Juno, and it's of marriage and commitment. And you have Pam Gregory talks about Celestians. No, those are like dwarf planets. Love her. But that's Chiron. Just like deep-seated insecurities. Next, we have Lilith, also known as Black Moon Lilith, and it's the dark side of the personality. It's the most primitive impulses and behaviors, your vulnerabilities. If you see someone else expressing your Lilith house and sign, you may be like disgusting because you want to do it yourself. So the house and placement in which Lilith falls for you is where you can see this is kind of like my inner child that's neglected, that's suppressed, because the suppressed personality most of the times are just your primitive childhood impulses. And if you keep suppressing that the whole time, I can imagine that the inside is very sad. And aren't we just all sad children having fun? Well, if you're not, give Lilith some. Give Lilith some. Next, we have the vertex. And this is a special point in the chart that brings fate, karma, and destiny when it's crossed by transits, people, and places. So all these transits, all these planets we talked about and the transits they can make aspects with your vertex, and they can bring gray. It's just like that scratch. It itches you like, oh, this is where I need to be. This is where I need to go. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. That's vertex, all for the good of you. And this is a point decided by the sun, moon, and your ascendant. And that's why the ascendant is so important most of the time. So be stingy with that though, because you need your birth time and your birthplace for your ascendant. That's something I'll talk about in part 3 of the houses word. But don't tell that to everyone, or else everyone knows, this is where I need to scratch, this is where I can't scratch you, this is where I need to scratch you. Don't do that. Don't give away your flower, don't give away your cherries. Just saying. But it's a special point for you and your life, literally, where your sun, your moon, and your ascendant. And if it's not your sun, I don't know, whatever. And time. astro-seek.com. Next, we have the part of fortune. Like it says, part of fortune. The qualities that you need to embrace in order to achieve your goals. The house shows you where this pot of gold is, and the sign describes how you can achieve it. So let's make a cute thing. Part of fortune in the lucky Sagittarius. And you have Sagittarius in your second house of personal possessions. So the house shows you where the pot of gold is. Your pot of gold is in your personal possessions, in your self-worth. And Sagittarius in the sign describes how you achieve it. Explore. Go and see. The dominant phrase I see, Sagittarius, I see what I have, see what you have. Maybe you don't even know it. And that's how you work with your part of fortune. Next, of course, the North and the South Node. So the North Node is your destiny in this lifetime. It's the karmic paths and the lessons that you came to learn, a point you need to embrace. And the North Node is always moving retrograde. I don't know why. But it's always in opposition with the South Node. And I know why it's in opposition with the South Node because, or else it would not be the North Node. It would just be a node. Right? So the North, always 180 degrees, not a second, not a minute, excuse me, further. And it's something you need to embrace. So the South Node is something, the challenges and the gifts that you bring along from your past life. It's your comfort zone and something you need to get and grow out of. Release it. You know how it works, you know how it goes, so just let it go. Again, you know what? Let's just stay on the axis of the education. North Node in Gemini, South Node in Sagittarius. Stop being so deep in everything. You know it. You know it. Maybe you're just a sponge that like takes knowledge and start being more superficial and start sharing that information more. Both are mutable signs, so both are distributors. Mutable fire is a distributor of enthusiasm, and mutable air is a distributor of information. Get out of making people enthusiastic, like join this group, join this long-term course, join this college, and just give them the knowledge. If you got it, give it. If you don't be smart. Gemini, not stingy. Like if you got it, give it. Word. And this is how you work with the North and the South Node. Of course, the North and the South Node keep moving, still moving. Every 18 months, they change a sign, so they stay transit a sign every 18 months. And when the sun comes in the neighborhood of the North or the South Node, we have a solar or lunar eclipse, and also for the moon. So full moons, new moons, sometimes eclipsing because it's in the neighborhood of the North and the South Node. And we have that once every, I'm not going to talk because the way I looked up in the air, no. Oh, yeah, so yeah. These are the geodes, the asteroids, and the poles. The retrogrades. Every planet has its own pace around the sun. The Earth makes 360 degrees in 365 days, which makes that not every day is exactly 24 hours in this timeline. Hence, the sun can still be in Cancer on the 22nd of July, depending on your time of birth, your location, and even the birth year. Viewed from Earth, some planets go retrograde, making it seem like they are moving slower. The best way I can explain this is with Mercury retrograde occurring 3 times a year. Because Mercury moves faster around the sun, it starts a new cycle or a new year every 87.97 days from Earth's point of view. Mercury is moving slower or backwards in that period. This planetary new year is called a retrograde, where Mercury will continue its normal course from Earth's point of view after 20 to 24 days. With the outer planets, which move slower than Earth, this is the opposite, but it still gives the same retrograde effect. When Pluto, which transits every 14 years, goes retrograde once a year for 5 months, It has effect on all life forms, people, animals, and timelines, just like other planets. So, just follow the cheat sheets. Mercury moves retrograde 3 times a year and does this for 20 to 24 days. This will make it harder to communicate and express your thoughts. If you have this in your birth chart, it's an influence to the person. If this is in the transiting chart, this has an influence on all people, places, life forms, animals, timelines. Yeah. Same for all the other planets, like Venus, which moves retrograde every 18 to 20 months and does this for 40 to 42 days. When Venus moves retrograde, it makes it difficult to give and receive love. So when Venus is retrograde in Leo, it makes it difficult to give and receive love in expressing yourself. So that self-expression is Leo, Venus, giving and receiving love, difficult. In your birth chart, personal, in the transiting chart, for everyone. So don't take it personal. When Mars moves retrograde every 25 months, it does this for 60 to 80 days, and it will make it difficult to feel motivated, remain calm, and take action. If you know this, and you can work with it, prepare for it even. When Jupiter moves retrograde once a year for 4 months, it makes it difficult to feel excited, joyful, and inspired. If you have this in your birth charts, again, let's say this is in your 12th house. It will make it feel difficult for yourself to feel excited about your spiritual quest. It will make you feel difficult to feel inspired about where you want to grow spiritually, where you even want to go. Will even make you feel less excited or less joyful when you're able to release some shackles even. 12th house. Let's say it's in the opposite in your 6th house. It will make it feel difficult for you to feel inspired with your job or the routines that you keep. It will make you feel difficult to feel joyful even though you see results. So Jupiter retrograde does it for 4 months if you're born in those 4 months. It's another obstacle to work with. It would be so boring if life would just be like handed out on a silver platter. That's when you have a lot of trines, but that's something we'll talk about in part 4. So Saturn moving retrograde, your limitations, your disciplines, does this once a year for 4 to 5 months. Will make it difficult to trust yourself. Like, is this the right thing to wait on, to invest in? It will make it difficult to feel accomplished. Like, okay, now I got there. And move forward on your plans. So Saturn retrograde occurs one time a year. Like planning. Like one thing I learned about adulting, micromanaging is the shit. Love that. Micromanaging everything. Like, I saw that coming. Astrology helped me with that. But yeah, Uranus moving retrograde once a year, does this for 5 whole months and will make it difficult to free yourself from restrictive situations. Let's say you have Uranus in Pisces. No. Let's say you have Uranus in Pisces, like a self-defeating behavior, very codependent and dependent. Feel difficult to free yourself from restrictive situations. If you know this, you'll know this. And again, when Venus hits Pisces, and Venus is a personal planet, so things you can personally work with, and you have Uranus and Pisces, that's the time like play Mary shackles. Play Mary shackles when Venus hits your Uranus and Pisces. When Neptune moves retrograde, it does this one time a year for 5 months, and it will make it difficult to see things clearly and objectively. Neptune been in Pisces for a minute, retrograde over there, seeing things, difficult to see things clearly and objectively about, yeah, in which house does it fall for you? I'm not going to say in which house this falls for me because I'm stingy with my personal information. But making it difficult to see things clearly and objectively about like, oh, this is where I'm really doing myself wrong. This is where I'm being too submissive to situations that don't support me fully. We still got a few years of Neptune and Pisces to go, so well, all this time to learn. All this time to learn. The last planet is Pluto, moving retrograde once a year and doing this for 5 months. And it will make it difficult to feel powerful or in control. When you have Pluto in retrograde in your birth chart, making it difficult to feel powerful or in control, depend on the aspects, honey. Pluto moves so slow, like depend on the aspects. I think this is how I got into astrology. I was like, what can I do to make it more favorable for me? Because don't we all want power in some type of way? And yeah, again, I love to see you in your power. And I know you won't challenge me because I don't challenge you. We respect each other over here. Remember, the energy